America, here today to speak on behalf of the African American soldiers in Shelbyville, Kentucky. And my booth deals with the Buffalo soldiers, the 9th and 10th Cavalry, the 24th and 25th Infantry, and displays and books of my Buffalo Soldiers Academy, which is open to all youth of all nationalities and all creed, all religions.
Well, I'm with the Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs. I'm the state representative for the women veterans. What I do is I advocate on behalf of the 24,000 veterans that are across the Commonwealth. And I provide different services, whether it's housing, benefits, employment, education, anything along those lines. I help assist female veterans to retrieve any benefits that they're entitled to.
Hi, Robin Stewart here. I'm the president of Women Veteran Rock Organization, and what we do is we support groups like Lawanda's and other surrounding veteran women groups here in the state of Kentucky for whatever needs they need, whether it be for, again, homelessness or clothing, shelter, anything that we can provide. We're a support group for those organizations throughout the state of Kentucky.
And what I have here for this particular booth is an original copy of Reverend Elijah P. Morris's book that he wrote in 1885 about his life experience, and some additional photographs of him that typically we don't see. And this is a photocopy of a recruitment poster for African Americans, men, 1918, and then another one, the Sons of Freedom. This is called Colored Man is No Slacker. And lastly, this is just the World War I jacket from my great uncle, Reverend Irvin O'Bannon, and it has a description of his military experience. Thank you.
Okay, this is the display we have from the Shelbyville VFW Post 1179. These are some of the headgear that have been donated. We have a World War I overseas cap, and these are from the other different wars, World War II, Vietnam, and I think we have in Desert Storm. The pictures are all donated of Shelby County soldiers, the black soldiers that have served from, I think the pictures go from World War I up to the present. So we got a quite real good collection, and today I think we'll probably end up getting more pictures.
I've had the honor of being able to do some research on 5 Shelby Countyans that were veterans of World War I and served in our most decorated regiment, the 369th Infantry. These gentlemen were given to the French Army as a full regiment to serve as the French were running out of soldiers of their own. They ended up being the most decorated regiment of military history of America. And we are now trying to find descendants of these gentlemen so that we can find maybe photographs or stories to include in our history of Bradley Logan, Burt Beckham, Leonard Todd, Robert Wooten, and Iona Harris. So if any of you know of these gentlemen or their descendants, we would be most appreciative to learn more about members of what became known by the Germans. The Germans tagged them the Harlem Hellfighters because of their courage. Thank you.
And this is my son, stepson, Mitchell Taylor. He is a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. He joined back in April of 2009, and he is now stationed in California. He is making a lifelong career. Here we have some of his memorabilia that he has. He traveled around the world. He was stationed in Japan, so he brought back money from Japan, from Korea, from the Philippines. And we have different acclimates that he got for different his different stages of training. He was in Japan during the time of the tsunami, and he actually had to go help clean up some of the destruction. And he said he saw things that he never saw before, and that it really was just touching to him.
Well, we did, and I know what
He is proud to be in service for the United States of America.
All right, the focus of the table is the Civil War, Shelby County, African Americans in the Civil War, and the most significant event involving African Americans in the United States colored troops, which was the skirmish at Simpsonville. And so part of this is about the skirmish at Simpsonville. Part of it, one area I've got on Elijah Mars, who is probably one of the most well-known people, Kentuckians, to come out of that era. He grew up on Connor Station Road and enlisted in 1864, which is when they really started in the border states, which is the slave states that stayed in the Union. When they mainly got in the Army, mainly in that summer of 1864. And but there's parts of this display have listing of all the men that we can document had Shelby County ties, and there are almost 300 African Americans that we can see that were actually participating in the.
Today I have met, and I also have the privilege of introducing Mr. John Taylor. Mr. John Taylor Jr. is the son of John Taylor Sr., a black horseman, and he is the great-grandson of Joshua R. Johnson of the 10th Cavalry. Mr. Taylor is a 12-year military veteran, and he is the founder of the Buffalo Soldiers Academy of America and the African American Derby. He is also an independent filmmaker. He has appeared on KET for his work with the Buffalo Soldiers Academy. Mr. Taylor was instrumental in locating the Harlem Hellfighters, the 369 soldiers buried right here in Calvary Cemetery. I had an opportunity to spend some time reflecting with him and looking at his table, and he wants to venture out and become a part of Shelby County, maybe having a camp here for youth. So let's welcome Mr. John Taylor Jr.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Taylor Jr., and I'm a descendant of Joshua R. Johnson, a Buffalo soldier. I'm also a descendant of Charles Biggers of the 6th United States Colored Cavalry, who served at Camp Nelson in the Civil War. My father trained and galloped and even rode horses. He's the first and only African American to win the Oxmoor steeplechase, which you won't find any records on that. Just like other people say, how can you be descendant of all these people? They got to understand, those days, America was segregated. Yeah. I'm a descendant of Lou Thornton. He was a truck driver for Tuskegee Airmen when I was a little boy, and when he was sober, he could tell me everything about Benjamin O. Davis Jr. You know. Then I had another relative. When he was sober, he could tell me all about the 761st Tank Regiment when he won the Silver Star. They were the first Americans to liberate a Jewish concentration camp. And him, coming from Kentucky, he was there to liberate the ill-treated people in the concentration camp. So things were so segregated, you had no choice to go in the 9th or 10th, 24th or 25th Infantry. 761st, Tuskegee Airmen was an experiment. The Muffler Point Marines was an experiment. We was put there to fail, not to succeed. So get that straight. We just being stubborn-minded people, we succeeded. African Americans are one of the very few people, if you tell us we can't do something, we're going to do it. They told a little boy downtown on Grand Avenue, you will never be heavyweight champion. That loudmouth won the champion 3 times. You know, they told Jackie Robinson, you can't hold your temper. Well, he went on to integrate Major League Baseball. And by the way, Joe Louis and Jackie Robinson were Buffalo soldiers. They served in the 10th Cavalry in World War II, Fort Riley, Kansas. So we have to give them that applause. The Buffalo Soldiers formed in 1866. They are the highest Medal of Honor recipients in all military history. I'm talking about as a unit.
Yeah.
You have 2 Medal of Honor recipients of the Buffalo Soldiers from Kentucky. Thomas Shaw and Britt Woods, both being born slaves. One in Pulaski County, Kentucky, the other one in Covington, Kentucky. Both members of the 9th United States Cavalry. Both fought in New Mexico against the Apaches. It's tough work. They were trapped in canyons. They had to fight their way out. When the Caucasian officers were wounded or killed, they were sergeants. They took over, chased the Indians out, and they were awarded Medal of Honors for that. We also have Colonel Young, Charles Young, first African-American colonel in the United States Army, tutor of Benjamin O. Davis Sr. to become the first African-American general, the third African-American to graduate from West Point, the United States Military Academy, the first African-American to be a military attaché to the United States Army, born here in Kentucky. Then you have Alice Allensworth, born a slave, sold from Louisville all the way to New Orleans, come back to gallop horses as a jockey, served in the United States Navy during the Civil War, got out, went to what they call normal school back then, got his degree and became a minister, ran Green Street Baptist Church in Louisville. The President of the United States called him up and gave him the commission of Lieutenant Colonel of the 24th Infantry, part of the Buffalo Soldiers, as the head chaplain. Taught many soldiers how to read and write that came straight out of slavery. After he done his 20 or so years, went to California and started the first African-American town settlement out there called Allensworth, after himself. Now it's a historical place. It's got a library and different things like that. My great-grandfather wasn't supposed to be in the Army. He was too short. He's only 5'4". The only way he got in, he was a blacksmith, so they needed blacksmiths. So he named his horse Mom, wasn't but an old plug, you know. And his daughter, my grandmother, turned around and married a man that did 25 years, and she was just as tough as he was. So we couldn't get away, nothing in the family. She had enough nerve to come to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, while I was in the processing center, and went in there and told my NCO, I'm taking my grandbaby home for Thanksgiving. Had a purse on her arm like, hey, you know what? I got to go home. I did, without leaving anything. She said, I will bring him back. She brought me back. But when she left, I was honored to carry her coffin and bury her with my grandfather out in Fort Knox. And I took my unit crest and threw it in the grave. But she was so proud that her grandson was in the Army. So I was blessed to ask her before she left. I said, Grandma, I said, you always talk about your daddy being in the Army. I said, what unit was he in? She said, 10th Cavalry. I said, that's the Buffalo Soldiers. She said, that's right. So I encourage young kids, talk to your grandparents. You will find out things. You know, my uncle, they always, you know, oh, Uncle Luke drinks too much. But we would have never known that he was in the Tuskegee area. Never. Couldn't you imagine that? My other grandfather, he drank too much, but who knows that he could swing a baseball bat so hard he played with the Negroes? But you see him every day sitting in your house. But we are the idiots because we don't ask them. We assume. You know? So your history is what you are, who you are. 77, 76, they bought the movie out Roots. And everybody took it the wrong way. The real way to take that movie is they took a child, 15 years old, out of Africa, away from everything that he knew, to to retrain him to be something that's less human. They would call him one name. He'd say, "My name is Kente." Had a little girl. "My name is Kente." She has a son. Her grandfather's name is Kente. And it went on down and down and down. So it was not hard to find out where he came from, because he had that determination, that pride. No matter what you do to me, my name is Kente. You know, and that is what we need to teach our children, as African American children. We're the only Americans in the United States that cannot speak our own native language. We're the only Americans in the United States that really don't know what part of Africa that we come from. We're lost. So we have to build upon what our history and our culture, what we see now, and teach our children what we have now. If we don't, they're lost. There's only two solutions for them when they're lost: the grave or prison. And we don't want that for our children. I worked in a prison. I don't want my kids there. So people tell me I'm wrong. When I put my kids, I make sure they scream louder than James Brown. You're not going to do what you did again. Because my father was that way. You know, my father will look at you, you sit down. If you got too far, this thing will step in the bathroom. Lock that door behind you, pull that belt off, and try to kill you. But you did not do what you did. So, and my grandfather had a saying: "No does not mean yes, and I shall not repeat myself." But today they call it child abuse. But they told you what you was getting on your report card, and they told you was going to graduate. Mama says, "Well, you've grown. You got a few choices. You can go to college, you can go to work, you can go to service, or you can get out of my house. I'll take care of no grown people." But if they weren't like this, where would I be? I couldn't stand here and talk to you good people. I'd be trashed somewhere, pants hanging off my behind, cussing and hooping and hollering, acting a fool. I would be worthy of the name John Taylor Jr. The senior didn't act like that. If I even thought about acting like that, my father walked through that door, I probably ran out that door. I tried to run once, didn't do no good. He caught me out Churchill down, I was like beating me to death. My brother, he stood there and took the whip. "Oh, now you're going to catch me," but he caught me and I got double whip. Well, we're going to move along so y'all can enjoy the day. And God bless y'all for coming out. Love y'all. Hope to see you again. Hope to see your grandkids or kids at my camp. And when I get old, I'll have your kids come back and say, "I learned this from Mr. Taylor." Thank you very much.
Historical Society, I do have a privilege of recognizing a few people that basically have put Tapestry together. For the last 5 years, frigidly cold Saturday mornings early, we've had our meetings. And this group of people they come out through all sorts of weather, and they offer their thoughts, their ideas for this Black History event. And they're all such an inspiration to me. And I wanted to say thank you and recognize them for the hard work that they do in putting this together. Yes, the rumor is true. This will be my last Tapestry. I don't know what's going to happen with the Black History Month events for Shelby County, but I'm sure I'll be in the background somewhere. But in the meanwhile, I do want to recognize this group of people because they are the backbone of this event. So when I call your name, if you guys would sort of just kind of, I'm going to call your names quickly, so if you all would kind of come up front here. We have some certificates for you, and stay up here so that we can get a photo. So people I would like to recognize, and just because I don't call your name, it doesn't mean I don't appreciate what you have done, because I do. There is a lot of people that put a lot of work into this, and I appreciate all of you. Mrs. Maureen Ashby, Mrs. Maddie Gray, Ms. Brenda Jackson, Ms. Inez Harris, Ms. Vivian Overall, Mrs. Juanita White, Mr. Roland Dale, Mr. Willie Fleming, Mr. Roger Green, who's already up here. And there's one other lady I would like to recognize as well who couldn't be with us today, but I know she's thinking about us, and I want you guys to please pray for her and hope for her to get better soon. That's Miss Janice Harris. Janice she was in a car accident, and she is trying to recover from that. So if you would, please keep your thoughts and prayers, send your thoughts and prayers to her. But I would also like to recognize Janice Harris.